Okay, in this second video we're just going to look at the difference between absolute and comparative advantage. Some of you may just need a bit of a refresher on what's the difference between the two of them. So absolute advantage is the easier one to get your head around. It basically just means that an individual or a group or a country can carry out a particular activity more efficiently than another one. So it's basically a fancy way for saying that we are better at producing that good or service, or we're more efficient at producing that good or service. So for example, if you can pick grapes quicker or catch fish quicker, etc., etc. So if Korea can make cars quicker and more cost effectively than Australia, then it has absolute advantage. If Australia can drill iron ore quicker than South Africa, then we have absolute advantage. Whereas comparative advantage refers to the ability of a party to produce a particular good or service at a lower opportunity cost than another, which means that they have to give up less to produce that good or service. So it's all about relative efficiency. So even if one country is more efficient at producing everything, then they can, or has an absolute advantage in both goods and services, that countries can still benefit from trade if they have different comparative advantages or different relative efficiencies. So for example, here's just a random example. You've got country A and country B. Country A can, if they split their time evenly, can produce 100 of each. Country B can produce either 50 cars or 200 units of rice. The easiest way to work out the opportunity cost is to do the other product over the one that we're talking about. So if you want to work out the opportunity cost of producing a car, you would do 100 divided by 100. And that's pretty straightforward because they're the same, so you know the opportunity cost of a car is 1, and it will be the same for rice. With cars, it's a little bit harder. So if you want to work out the opportunity cost of producing a car, what you need to do is the other thing, so rice divided by cars. So the opportunity cost of producing a car would be 4. What we're basically saying is that every time we produce a car, we have to give up 4 units of rice. And that kind of makes sense because clearly in the time, assuming we're spending, say, 5 hours doing both things, clearly we're picking rice a lot quicker than we're producing cars, and therefore we're giving up more than 1 unit of rice per car. In terms of picking rice, how many cars do we have to give up? Well, it's 50 divided by 200, so it's only a quarter of a car per unit of rice. So in this case here, who should specialise in what? Well, in this case here, you would say that the opportunity cost in terms of cars is smaller for country A, so they would specialise in that area, and the opportunity cost of rice is more for country B, so they would specialise in that area. I gave you the example. In this case here, one country, they actually have different absolute advantage. So in this case here, country A's got absolute advantage in cars, country B's got absolute advantage in rice. But the same philosophy still works if someone is better at producing both things than another. So in this case here, you've got Wenyu and Christina. If they split their time evenly, Wenyu can pick 5 of each, where Christina's only 2 and 4. So the opportunity... in this case here, Wenyu has absolute advantage in both products. She's better at both things, but that doesn't mean that she should be the one picking both things. They can still benefit from trading. So again, you need to work out the opportunity cost to work out who should be specialising in what area. So for Wenyu, again, it's easy. The opportunity cost is 1, but for each thing. Where for Christina, if she wants to pick a fish, her opportunity cost, you need to do the other over. So 4 divided by 2, her opportunity cost for picking fish is 2, where her opportunity cost for picking mangoes would be a quarter. 2 divided by 4, that would be half. The opportunity cost would be half. So in this case here, just flicking to this bit here, what we would basically be saying is that if they both specialise in what they're good at, and the maths isn't all that important, what's important is that you can recognise who has comparative advantage in what. But if Wenyu was to specialise in fish and Christina was to specialise in mangoes, they would be better off and be able to produce more than if they split their time evenly. I'm not going to go through the whole maths associated with it, but basically what would happen is instead of having an output of 10 and 6, if they specialise, they can get to an output where they have a total production of 18 instead of 16 units. And then by trading between the two of them, they're able to maximise their overall living standards. So here's a better example just to show how it works. 2 countries, we did this in class, Wilconia and Bolzolia. Clearly Bolzolia has absolute advantage in both products. It is quicker at producing both cars and computers. Because let's say they're just spending 5 hours doing both, then they're clearly being able to produce more in both instances. They're both 1,000. But if we're looking at the... so Bolzolia has absolute advantage. So the correct answer to question 1 would be that Bolzolia has an absolute advantage in the production of computers. Question 2, according to the theory of comparative advantage, what is the most efficient way to structure trade in cars and computers between Wilconia and Bolzolia? Again, this is where we need to look at the comparative advantage. So you would need to draw up a little table for yourself if you got this in your test, and basically go, well, for Bolzolia it's 1 and 1. So for Wilconia, if they want to produce a car, their opportunity cost other over, so 700 divided by 500, so their opportunity cost is 7 on 5. And if they want to produce a car, so a computer, their opportunity cost would be 500 divided by 700, which is 5 on 7. So in terms of the opportunity cost, this is the opportunity cost for both countries in terms of producing cars. So clearly, Bolzolia has the lower opportunity cost for producing cars, where Wilconia has the opportunity cost, a lower opportunity cost of producing computers. So they would specialise. So if you're looking at the answer, what we should be doing is that Bolzolia should be specialising in the production of cars, and Wilconia should be specialising in the production of computers. So the correct answer would be Bolzolia would make most of the cars, and Wilconia should allocate more resources to the production of computers, all based on opportunity cost. That's the kind of maths you're more likely to have to do in your test for comparative advantage. And basically the idea with comparative advantages is by specialising in areas where we're good at, we increase the total level of output. So for a country, in this case we were looking at just two people, but for a country, by specialising in their areas where they're the most productive, they are able to maximise the total level of GDP because they both have access to a greater level of goods and services, and therefore that will help to increase their material living standards. The problem though is that in real life, specialising in areas of comparative advantage does lead to job losses, because if we're specialising in what we're good at and you have a job in the one where we don't have comparative advantage, or you could potentially lose your job. But the net benefit should outweigh the cost because overall GDP per capita should increase, and that's the theory behind globalisation.